Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for chin-up queens. I'm Cody.
And I'm Tyler.
Tyler, how many chin-ups you done this week?
Oh, I thought overall?
How many lifetime chin-ups?
One.
Gross chin-ups. It's pretty good. Here's the thing. I think I've only done like a dozen chin-ups. Because I don't do chin-ups. I do pull-ups. Now, you might be saying, what's the difference between chin-ups and pull-ups? And the people that don't know, shame on you, right?
Right.
Your chin-ups, you got your palms facing your face. Your pull-ups, your palms are facing away, all right? Mm-hmm. No one does chin-ups. John David Washington does like 80 chin-ups in this movie.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Here's the thing. I feel like anytime there's someone who's in the military in a movie, they do chin-ups. Mm-hmm. When in real life, you have a roommate who was in the army for 4 years or something. Now he's going to school for accounting, right?
Yes.
Got that GI Bill.
Yeah.
You know? He's doing pull-ups. But if he was in a movie going to school for accounting, he'd be doing chin-ups at the industrial park.
Doing chin-ups 80 feet in the air up a ladder in a solar windmill.
Solar windmill, yes. Yep.
Tyler, what did we watch?
We watched Tenet.
Well,
Or Tenet. There we go. Because it's all caps.
Tenet. How do you pronounce the backwards N in Tenet?
Tenet.
Tenet. You gotta say the N backwards, so.
Yeah.
We sure did.
Yeah.
We did it in a theater no more than 40% capacity with masks and
your wife brought cookies?
and cookies.
Which I appreciate.
Okay.
No. She offered the cookies.
Yeah.
I said, no, thank you. And her response to that was, they're cookies. Which I then said, okay, and took the cookies and gave them to my wife, who then offered them back to me later in the movie.
They're cookies. Yeah, I mean...
I looked her in the eye and I knew I was not going to be able to say no thank you for these cookies.
If someone gives you delicious homemade cookies, how and why are you going to refuse that?
I didn't even need any of my birthday
individually
popcorn.
wrapped.
They were individually wrapped. We both got our birthday popcorn and birthday drink.
Yeah, I got a birthday popcorn and a birthday drink. You know? What more do you need?
Did you partake in either of them?
Yes, I did. Oh, I did, and I refilled the birthday drink.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that why you got up in the middle of the movie?
And to pee,
Yeah.
bathroom, and soda are the only two acceptable reasons to get out of your seat. So, Tyler, I mean, would you like me to give a brief summary of this movie?
I would love you to give a brief summary.
Honestly, I almost don't want to give a brief summary of this movie because I intentionally learned as little about this movie as possible. That's how you see a Christoper Nolan movie.
Yeah.
You learn nothing about it, you go into it, and it happens to you, right?
Yeah. Let's do a little fun thing here. What is the most you had seen about the movie?
I knew this. Here's what I knew. There's a car that flips over in reverse time. And some other stuff kind of happens in reverse time. And that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
That's about it. What about you?
I knew the name of the movie.
Nice.
And that a black guy with a beard was probably the main character. Because all I had seen was a billboard.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. Here's the thing. I was not interested in the movie, and then I saw the billboard, and I was like, I'm in. I like the vibe of the billboard.
Yeah.
My wife also didn't know anything about it, but I think hers was less a conscious choice and more just not being involved in anything where she would have seen. a trailer for it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
But I realize I don't get ads anywhere. I don't get ads on YouTube. I don't get them on like Hulu or any of the streaming things.
Yeah.
We don't watch TV anymore because we finally got rid of our YouTube TV that we had for a while.
mm-hmm.
So I never see ads and trailers
Yeah.
or anything.
Well, especially, it's a big deal, right? There's the teaser trailer, then the official trailer, then the international trailer, and the second international trailer. And nowadays, no one's seen any trailers.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is, you don't need to, you don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
You shouldn't know anything. I mean, you could know something. It won't help. Like, they won't, you know?
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, it's not, yeah. Yeah. Right?
All right. So, let me ask you this. First impressions, general whatever. What are your thoughts? How'd you feel about it? The movie. Tenet's the movie.
My thoughts on Tenet are as follows. One, what's Christopher Nolan's brother's name? Jonathan Nolan?
Jonathan
Dead
Nolan.
to me.
Why?
Don't need him, obviously. Don't need him.
Stop.
Obviously, he's just riding his brother's coattails.
Oh, you know Christopher Nolan is always wearing coattails.
Yeah.
He has tailed jackets up the wazoo.
Here's the thing. Aren't Christopher Nolan and Jonathan Nolan, aren't they the ones that they're brothers, but one is British and one is American or something?
I'm sure you've told me that. I don't know if it's true.
I mean, there's some famous set of brothers where it's like, these are brothers, right? And it's like one, he's like, oh yes, and then we wrote the movie, and it was this and that. You know, it was like very high class British, and the other guy's like, yeah, I don't know. So it's about a dude. He knows the word tenant. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's them, but it is something like one of them was raised in England and one wasn't. But it was it's some of them.
It is someone.
Someone is like that for sure.
And we will find out who.
Yeah. But I thought it was good. I liked it. I thought it was good. I think if you watched Inception, which is another Nolan movie, right?
Correct.
And you could understand it, and everybody around you is like, I don't. Were they even real people, or were they all just dogs sleeping? Like those. And you looked at those people, and you're like, what is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I feel like, will give you a glimpse for a moment at how they felt,
Yeah.
and then you'll catch up, and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But you'll get that moment of what?
To borrow a phrase from Community, it's wrinkling my brain.
Yeah.
Right? I feel similar way. I enjoyed this movie. I liked it. I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
I liked this movie. It does make Inception look simple.
Yeah, it does.
That's maybe my biggest problem with the movie is just like, wow, I like so much about this movie, and there's so much really cool stuff about it, some cool performances, really interesting ideas, but it is like heady beyond all heady. Like, it's headier than the word heady is, where it's like, yeah. I think it's one of those movies that people are going to have problems with, but the people who take the time to see it a second time, and maybe even a third time, will like gain a really deep appreciation for it, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it again to see if that is the case. It did make me like, wow, back to the times of Interstellar and Inception, where there was a Nolan movie that I could understand fully, where I was like, I get it. It's a lot, but I get it.
Yeah. I think, because I was talking to Tiffany afterwards about it, and because I'd seen the scores, the review scores on it when I looked it up to show her like something. I think she asked me what it was rated or something like that.
Yeah.
And they weren't as good as I thought they would be. It's not like it's going up against anything right now.
Right.
So,
but even like compared to his previous movies.
It's good. I think what part of what would suffer, what I would give it if we gave scores, like real scores as opposed to like weird fake scores that we make up on the spot.
Yeah.
I think something that would make it suffer for me is that it takes an already hard to understand concept, something that's difficult by its very nature to wrap your mind around, and goes out of its way to try to make it more complicated in an unnecessary way.
Yeah.
Like the way people are like, well, this is what's going on. This is what I know. And it's like you have a professor explaining it to a dude that's like, yep, I understand this. And it's like, you guys don't need to be using this stuff. And I'm like, I get it because of the kinds of stuff I've gone to school for.
Sure.
Where I understood some of those terms. But I'm like, most of the people in this theater aren't going to know some of these terms. They're not going to have thought about this kind of stuff as a possibility. Like,
Right.
Like, they're not going to know what's going on.
He lives in this weird world where he's not like an avant-garde indie filmmaker, but he is a very like independent kind of director where he's like practical effects, complicated sci-fi, whatever, with action and writing, but also he's making blockbuster level movies like Dark Knight, Inception, you know, like these movies that cost a ton of money to make, and they are an action movie, but also they have these complicated principles and ideas in them, and this one is a step further than everything he's done in the past in terms of like complicatedness.
Which, do you think, because I almost wonder part of it is, I know when they did Interstellar, and I think a little bit before that, he's been very involved and like almost, I don't know, like he gets very involved in the scientific community part of movie making.
He's got a physics professor that he goes to talk about this movie and Interstellar both, where he's like, hey, I'm not trying to make this like 100% scientifically accurate. I just want, in theory, are these ideas correct? You know, is this plausible? Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's part of the reason why it seems like so obtuse in the way that it tries to explain some stuff, is that he had it explained to him by somebody who is going to go out of their way.
It's not like Back to the Future where like, you travel back in time, you do the stuff, you go back, you know? It could have been that simple.
Yeah.
But instead, he was like, let's get into the paradoxes that are involved with this. And yeah.
But overall, I like it. I think it's worth it. I think if you liked Inception or Interstellar, you'll like this.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty... It'll be more difficult to wrap your mind around it, or maybe it'll be super easy. I can see this, just like any of them being some.
Well,
just like the fourth dimensional beings were the big thing in Interstellar, right? Like that concept, that time's a dimension and all that. You move through it.
Well, the thing is, Interstellar is wrapped in sci-fi. Where you're like, hey, here's space and relativity of time and this stuff.
Yeah.
Inception is like, it's different, but we're talking about dreams. So it had that like fantasy quality almost. Like, so it's sci-fi within the fantasy of dreams, you know? So you're like, okay, that's where it's grounded. This one is just like time. And you're like, oh no, it's about to get really, really like abstract and vague about what it's rooted in, you know? Because time is a construct, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know.
Uh-huh. So before we spoil the movie completely... Here's what I want you to do, Cody. Look through this window here.
Okay.
Do you see yourself stepping out of the giant spinning thing?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Let's step into the giant spinny thing. Let's let's reverse ourselves and just spoil this movie.
I'm ready.
Spoiler time, USA town.
Okay.
Space. What?
Okay. So the movie is about time.
It's about entropy.
Entropy and inverting objects to work in reverse time.
Yeah.
And here's, like, this is your whole point that you said earlier, right? That's complicated enough, but people can wrap their head around it. But instead, they take it where it's like, we're inverting you and your inverted self are going to be doing this thing at the same time against each other for different reasons.
Yeah.
And that's where your brain wrinkles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This movie starts John David Washington.
Let me stop you right there. Before the movie even starts, before I forget about it, I have a note that I have been waiting for the AMC to reopen and us to see a movie there.
Yeah.
So I can
So you can
call
share.
these cowards out.
Tell me.
Cody,
What?
there's a reel at the end or at the beginning of every movie. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, you're at AMC. Look at all this stuff. There's people. They're having a grand old time. They're seeing movies. They got glass Coca-Cola bottles. Wouldn't you love to have that? Too bad. But you know,
Too bad you got a cup with Daniel Craig's face on it.
yes. But for a long time, there used to be a group of friends. They're sitting down. There's one dude, tall white dude, generic white dude, as you might call. He sits down. He's leaned forward. They're obviously seeing a scary movie of some kind.
Yeah.
He's got his popcorn. He's shoveling that popcorn in. And then something happens. There's a jump scare. Popcorn everywhere. And I said the first time I saw this, people are going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then years later, that got cut from the reel. It cuts right before he jumps.
Well, and that's the problem with it. Because it used to have a purpose. It was like he's there eating popcorn. He got scared. I threw the popcorn. Now it's just like, there's a couple on a date night. There's a single dude eating some popcorn. Here's another couple on a date night. You're like, wait, why is there just one dude? Like, because people don't... Look, I go to movies by myself. I do that. Yeah. I know most people don't do that.
Yeah.
But like, in this one, it's just him. It's just one man.
Yeah.
Who's not looking to his friends or sharing his popcorn. And he used to be there for the jump scare. Yeah. And now he's just a man eating way too much popcorn at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about it. We may have talked about it on the podcast. I've talked talked about this with at least two different people, okay? I've leaned over to them and been like, they're cowards. They changed it.
Yes. These cowards.
No, I appreciate bringing it up.
Yeah.
It's offensive.
They need to be
right.
held accountable for this and the atrocious nature of it.
It's offensive.
Yeah. I have a second.
Please. No, you tell me.
Okay. Is yours about the opening reel?
Yeah. Not that, I mean, it's about the pre-movie, the coming attractions, as it were.
Hit me with it, then.
All right, AMC, they got a 20-minute rule. They play 20 minutes of trailers, which is a lot. I don't know if you knew this. We sat through 30 minutes of trailers before our movie started.
Oh, I didn't notice. I was so excited to see movie trailers again.
Well, because it was 20 minutes. Then they played the, hey, AMC, get on Stubs, get on A-List, enjoy the movie. Then it played the IMAX thing where it's like, IMAX preview, don't you love movies, vague movie things. Then it played like 3 more trailers. I was like, what is happening? What world are we living in?
I've noticed that with IMAX before, though, because it's almost like there's
IMAX
minutes.
trailers or something.
And then these are IMAX movies that IMAX puts.
That would make sense, but I feel like I've seen like one trailer. I don't know if I've seen 3 trailers after that point.
I feel like I'm used to 2 or 3 though, but it usually is like 2, because it's like the 2 biggest movies coming up, and it's like these were filmed in IMAX. Watch them in IMAX. We're gonna show them the IMAX trailer, whereas the other ones are they're not designed to be shown on an IMAX.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's it. But movies pay to get those trailers in, so maybe they're just bumping it up to get more money because they're going out of business.
Oh, basically. Yeah. They're like cutting ticket prices and doing whatever they can to get people in. And there's only like 3 movies out. So it's tough times for movie theaters.
Oh, yeah.
People are out here paying $30 to watch Mulan on their couches. Like these are dark days.
How dare you pay
We're
$30?
here in the dark ages.
Can I share a secret with you, Cody?
What?
I'm not gonna watch Mulan.
Stop. You're not going to watch it?
No. It's a whole thing, Cody. It's
a whole thing. What do you mean?
Boycott Mulan.
Oh,
Cody.
is it because the Hong Kong thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Here's the thing. When it's free, maybe, but probably not.
Look,
I'm not about to pay $30, which When I first looked it up, it was 35, which means they dropped it.
Okay, two things about this. Number one, my brother / my brother's wife, they bought it.
Yeah.
So I have access to watch it. Number two, I'll tell you this. No spoilers. Not great.
It doesn't. Yeah, it does not seem.
It's not
like
a great movie. Do yourself a favor. Watch the original Mulan, and you'll have a great time. Because here's what I realized after watching this remake of Mulan. Mulan has it all. Like the original Mulan.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the funniest Disney movies of that decade. It's got romance. It's got action. It's got killer music. It's like, and it's got a good message. It's like it is a full complete package of a movie. I think I just rubbed my hand in some Bindi slobber.
Nice.
So anyway, the original Mulan is fantastic. The new one is not great.
Yeah.
It's not awful. It made some choices.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like they went for an action movie, then they hired like an indie director that's never done an action movie, and I was like, I didn't understand it. So anyway, back to Tenet.
Well, I have one more thing that I think tainted the whole experience, and I'd like your thoughts on it.
Okay.
I don't think they have calibrated that IMAX recently. I think they flicked everything on and said, "That's fine."
Is it audio or video? Are you talking?
I think the video was fine. I didn't notice anything wrong with the video, but the audio was very peaky, and it didn't seem to have the bass it normally would, and it did not. I didn't even in that opening trailer, which normally feels like there's a flock of birds flying around you.
Yeah.
It felt like I was sitting in a room watching it on TV speakers.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We talked about the dialogue, where some of the dialogue was hard to understand. You're like, it wasn't mixed right. Either the movie wasn't mixed right, or the theater's audio wasn't as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
For a movie as like heady as this one was, where it's like I need to hear everything they're saying so I can try to keep up. There were like at least 6 or 7 lines where I was like, that seemed important. I did not catch what they said.
Yeah.
So I wonder. The other thing is, I wonder if it suffered from COVID, because they had to like finish the editing and stuff in COVID. I wonder if there was issues where it's like you didn't have access to all the equipment. We didn't do a full Dolby test. I don't know what happened.
Well, but even the trailers seemed to not sound right to me.
Yeah.
That's why I think it was the
Theater audio.
Because I wonder with
I almost
IMAX,
did it in Prime. I almost went to the Prime showing instead of the IMAX showing.
Well, I'd wonder if the IMAX, do they have to have people come out and do that, or do they have people there that can calibrate that?
If they do, are they having people travel now? Most people aren't traveling for work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do they have to get like an IMAX
Person to come in,
do it? Because didn't they used to say is laser aligned audio? What does that mean? They laser pointers at the chairs.
Point lasers at your ears. Tune your eardrums.
Yeah.
To make them taut.
Right.
And reverberate more.
Continue. But I wanted to know if you, so obviously you noticed something was
I noticed,
off.
and mostly with the dialogue, where it's just like some of these lines are not, like there's no way they intentionally made that sound as hard to understand as it was.
Yeah.
Normally that's the last issue I have with the Chris Nolan movie. Like, he's very clear. He has a lot of ones where it's like, oh, this line we're going to say 3 times during the movie, we're really going to emphasize it. Whereas this one, I feel like they did that once with one line, and otherwise it was like, oh gosh, what are they saying? Oh, please help, Lord, help me understand what is happening. I want to understand so bad.
Yeah. So into the actual movie.
Yeah. John David Washington is a black man with the most perfect looking beard I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, it is.
It looked so good it looked fake.
Yeah,
it looked like they had put on a perfectly trimmed 1/4 inch of like perfectly curled beard hair on his face. If that's his natural beard, good for him. I mean, it didn't.
It looked good.
It looked great. It had to have been his natural beard, right? Chris Nolan wouldn't have put a fake beard on someone.
Yeah, there's no way it's fake beard.
I'm just saying it looks so good it could have been fake. It could have been like a manicured fake beard prosthetic.
The lines are so clean.
Clean lines. It was full, but not bushy and big. It was taut.
Yeah.
It looks great. I mean, maybe his greatest strength, maybe his greatest strength is the beard.
Yeah. Shout out to his barber. Here's what I don't think for 1 second his hair was done by the movie's hair and makeup people. I think he said, "Stop you right there. My guy's going to come in and do my hair, and you're not going to touch it."
Well, this actor, he's only been in a couple things. I wasn't a super big. People really liked Black Klansman and his role in that. I think he did okay in it. That movie didn't grab me as well as some other people. Mm-hmm. I thought he did very well in this, and it's a totally different character, different voice even. He uses a totally different voice when he's in Black Klansman.
Yeah.
So I thought he did a great job with this.
Black Klansman, that's a comedy, isn't it?
Not really.
No? Okay.
It says it's a biography crime drama. It's Spike Lee. It's kind of funny. It's based on a real story. So it's Ron Stallworth, he was a black police officer in Colorado. Yeah. And then he manages to infiltrate the KKK after like having phone conversations with them. But then he has to get a white police officer to show up and infiltrate the KKK meetings because he can't show up as a black man and be undercover. It's pretty interesting. It's a good movie. It wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, for some reason because I rented it and then ended up being like everyone else in my house watched it but me.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason on the site I rented it, it had a comedy as
well.
I
mean, it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It just isn't a straight comedy.
Okay.
It's like yeah.
It's just funny in the fact that he's trying to infiltrate the KKK.
Yeah, and they definitely play some stuff. You know, they kind of play look at how dumb these KKK guys are. Like they're getting duped by this dude. You know, but it's also like a social issue movie because it really has some scenes that highlight that. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Like, what was it, Blazing Saddles, where they duped all those guys? They set up the toll booth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time. Or what's the movie we watched recently, where they all had all their hoods and they couldn't see through them?
Django.
It was a good time.
Then there's even one other one. Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Remember that one?
I don't think I've seen the movie.
Oh,
I know, right?
We gotta just. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's watch all 20 Coen Brothers movies. Right now.
All right.
Or anyway, maybe after the podcast. I don't know. I don't know if I can really go through this movie beat by beat. No, can you? I think you kind of have to just talk about it.
Yeah. I do want to know, because before we get into too much of the,
meat.
Yeah. The opening sequence of they're at the opera house, which my wife turned and held my hand and stroked my arm because I used to play in an orchestra, played at Carnegie Hall, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, brag there. Not a humble brag, just a brag. And they come in and grab a bass, chuck it down, and I'm like, this has got to be the most expensive scene of this movie.
Yeah.
Chucking basses and smashing cellos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even a cheap one is not a cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just funny because that cello also exploded.
Oh, yeah.
Which I do know means it was a cheap cello.
Right.
Because the not cheap ones just get a hole the size of your foot.
Yeah.
But that made me feel a little bit better, and then I kind of chuckled to myself as people were dying, because I was like, nobody playing at that place would be caught dead with these instruments, but they got to smash them, so they're not going to go out and buy expensive ones.
It was an interesting way to start the movie because there's no exposition. It's like, hey,
start.
There are some people raiding this opera house. There's these other people that are gonna try to stop it, but really they're just trying to protect this one dude, probably.
Yeah, it's like a CIA.
They don't explain why they're raiding the opera house. They don't really explain any of that stuff, do they? Or is it just not important because so much other stuff happened in the movie I forgot about?
No, I mean, they mentioned why they did it because I like how they started the raid because it was just everybody's tuning their instruments, then the conductor does a tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
Silence, and then they shoot the conductor, which I'm like, talk about a way to get everybody's attention.
Oh, yeah.
They got my attention. Maybe jump. Maybe jump real high.
Oh, Bailey jumped for sure.
But, so they, they come in, they're doing all the things, and then they wake up the Americans, which I was like, oh, we're about to have a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 situation here, where these guys are going to go in and just kill everybody, and then we're trying to start World War 3, or what? But because they say when they get into, you see a dude in a suit with some Russian, I guess he's Ukrainian, maybe he's Russian, because they're in the Ukraine. Some Ukrainian and or Russian military officer and a dude in a suit.
Yes.
They're together in a booth.
They're friends.
Yeah. And the guy in the military suit, he's got a gun. I remember that. But then when the Americans get in there, they're like, you've been made. Guy in the suit, fun fact, CIA spy. And he's like, I love this when they do this. When they're in this situation and somebody comes in, everyone else is Russian or Ukrainian. An obvious American comes in and says, I'm a CIA agent, you are a CIA agent. This is an operation for them to kill you and cover it up. Or actually to make it look like you died and kidnap you.
Yeah.
I'm here to get you out. And they're like, but I'm undercover. I love when they do that in movies because it's like, well, your cover's gone. Okay. Obviously, the fact that I'm here means you are no longer
I'm
undercover.
just a boy talking to a girl, telling her that her cover is absolutely blown, and you should do whatever I'm saying. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. And then they're doing the cool like CIA stuff, right? You know, where they're like getting them out and they're switching clothes and getting out and doing all the things, and then they find a box and then they get captured. I mean, that's pretty much it. There's other stuff.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah. They introduce he sees the bullet hole kind of run backwards, and then a bullet passes through somebody.
Yeah.
And you see a dude in a mask, and you got a little orange keychain thing.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. I thought I zoomed in on it when it first.
Yeah, but I didn't clock it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because now I know why that's significant.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things I need to rewatch for.
Oh, I do want to. Now that you said that, I didn't really want to go see it again. Now I want to go see it again.
Yeah.
But so they do that, and then he gets caught at the end, and it turns out, didn't they all get caught? Don't you find out at some point? No,
I don't know, because they had stayed back to like try to like redirect some of the bombs.
Yeah.
And so I think they got caught, but maybe some of the other people didn't.
Yeah.
So there were like 2 or 3 of them that got caught, I think. They get interrogated. He bites down on his capsule. Mm-hmm. And then...
a good old CIA cyanide capsule. Not like James Bond here.
That would be dumb.
Getting rid of it.
And then I thought that was interesting. They bit down on it, and then he wakes up, and the guy's like, hey, welcome to the afterlife. They're like, the F, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Finds out his cyanide capsule wasn't real. It knocked him out, so like, yes, we were able to get back in.
Yeah, making it look like
recover you, and then put you in medically induced coma, fixed your mouth. And so he's like, hey, so I did think that was interesting that he's kind of like, so now, you're basically like a ghost now, so I don't know, do you want to figure out this crazy thing we know very little about, and here's the code word, and I don't know, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I got from that initial explanation was nothing. It was that here's the word and a gesture, and that's it.
Yeah. That's how the movie... And so, I don't know, I feel like with other movies, like in the Batman movies, it's always like, you've got Alfred, Bruce Wayne, and Morgan Freeman's character. His name is something.
Doctor Strange. I don't know.
Lucius Fox.
Yeah, Fox.
That's how you get a lot of your exposition, where it's like, oh, they're explaining how the gadget works and what the plot is and where the starting point is for the story. Inception, there's the whole scene of like Leonardo DiCaprio he's already got some of the team. He's assembling the rest of the team, and that's his chance to explain what he does and what's going on.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't have any of that, so it really puts you just like, you're kind of like in John David Washington's shoes, where it's the protagonist's shoes, which I believe, I read something, that's the name of the character. They never say his name, it's just the protagonist. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I know he calls himself that a lot.
But that's like, they never say his proper name. He's just the protagonist. Again, the script and everything. Anyway.
Well, like I said...
we don't know anything more than he knows.
Yeah.
Which is that there's a thing called Tenet.
And
you got to go find out about it.
So I think just like Christopher Nolan usually seems like he's pretty good at going to people that know this stuff to have them run through everything with him and make sure that it's all believable and get tips on like how to make it more accurate to what he's going for. Right? So as we were watching it, I got the vibe that he went to like former CIA ghosts or like operatives, right? These guys that would go and do this kind of stuff to get like, what would they tell you if you were doing this? And they would be like, nothing.
Yeah.
They would point me in a direction and say, do it. And you just have to know what to look for. Because that's the whole point. Because their whole thing is like, I don't know where I'm going. That way, if I get caught and I get tortured, I can't tell them what my mission was because I don't know till I get there. And then I don't know what the next stage is. And they don't know who's coming because they've never met me. They just know someone's going to show up and know that they're there to do this. You know,
Yeah.
It's like a whole disjointed thing. So there's only like 3 guys that know the whole mission.
Yeah.
And like he does his chin ups 80 feet in the air.
Yep.
In his solar
Climbs
wind
all
farm.
the way up the ladder so we can do chin ups and like any rung will do, you know.
But it gives you the motivation,
Yeah, that's a good point.
you know, motivation to not fall, I guess. And then so then he gets off the thing, and then the guy, like, I thought it was cool, like, the guy gets out of the car, and he just gets in the car, and he's like, start the GPS wherever it says to go.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I think he probably talked to guys that were in that kind of line of work and got that, yeah, this is how it goes. So you don't know enough to compromise the whole mission.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool because it was a look at American agents, secret agents, in the way that they're probably more actually work and less like action movie where they run in with machine guns all the time and less I'm just the dude in the Hawaiian shirt in a James Bond movie because I feel like it's one of those two. You're either the guy that can call the Marines for a British agent or you're like a super Delta Force guy. They never have spies.
Right.
It's like I don't want to get caught because I'll die and they'll deny I ever even was born. But I was thinking that might have been a reason why some guys may have given it a lower score. That he always acted like he knew what was going on because that's if he doesn't act like that, then he's gonna die.
Right.
Also, the guy's like, I give you a word and a gesture. Tenet. Be careful. It can open some bad doors. When did it open a bad door?
Here's the thing. The gesture. I can't answer your question. Here's what I can say. He gives him the gesture. I believe, if I understand correctly, the only time he used the gesture is when I went to the bathroom. Because I got out of that movie being like, he never used the gesture. Those are the only 2 things to pay off in the movie. Tenet and the gesture. Never paid off the gesture for me.
You got to put them together like a security code in the picture. You know? You
It's
ever
like
get those?
the push notification to give you the passcode to recover your password. I don't
There
know.
you go.
It's just...
Because he says it... Okay, so he says it once when he gets to the lab where the scientist that's studying the bullets.
Yeah.
Were you in the bathroom break at that time?
Nope. I was in the bathroom break when they talked about the grandfather paradox and all that stuff.
Okay, so he
It
does...
was in
Tenet.
between 2 action scenes. It was like one of the exposition scenes.
Oh. Yeah, so he does the Tenet and laces his fingers together because you got to do them together.
Yeah.
Then she opens the door and explains everything to him.
Oh, okay.
And then the Priya did it to him, and I think he uses it one more time.
Yeah.
But it's never...
I mean, the Russian dude was pretty bad, dude. Did that happen with him?
No. He never used it on... He only used it twice, I think.
Okay.
And
I
never-
think I realized that I have an issue with something.
Yeah.
Not just... They do in this movie, but in other movies as well. I talked about it a little bit in Last Christmas. Okay, when someone is very obviously British, and I know them because they're British and they're in British movies, when they give them an Eastern European accent, it automatically takes me out of the movie. So the Russian guy, Kenneth Branagh, he's in Harry Potter. He's in all kinds of Shakespeare stuff. He's also a director. Very well-known dude. So him playing the menacing bad guy Russian, I was just like, nah. Even though his performance was pretty good, just for me, I was like, gosh, I wish you just hired a Russian dude. Because it was so distracting for me. It was like, I know you're not a Russian. Which I know it shouldn't, right? They're actors. They should be able to do whatever.
I think he did. I saw it was him, and I was like, well, this is not going to be a good accent. And I think he did a good job.
He's a very good actor. I mean, look, his main credits are Henry V, Hamlet, Much Ado About Nothing. He's a Shakespeare guy. And also, he's the inspector in Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
We also saw a trailer for the sequel, Blue Nile, which really takes you out of the movie because you're like, he's the good guy in the other movie. And then he's a Russian. He's like a good guy Frenchman in the preview. And then in the movie, he's a bad guy Russian dude. And it's like, I can't, you know?
Yeah. I saw that. I like how you leaned over to me when I saw that Murder on the Nile, and you're like, is that allowed?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a book originally, but it's a very famous old movie. The original, Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah. Famous old movie. They remade it a couple years ago. I think it did all right, and so they're making
Death on the Nile. Yeah. Which is another book by the same person.
But it's just funny because I'm like, this is an old movie, and now they rebooted it and made a sequel to it. I don't know.
Which I think is just because the original people were too much cowards to make a sequel of the original. Because I think that is another one of the books, right?
I'm sure it is. Like, I think there's a handful of those books.
Who wrote them? Is it the What's-Her-Face girl? Yes. Right? The one who wrote the thing that, like, Clue is based on.
Oh, it could be.
I think it's her.
Agatha Christie.
And I think they're both her books. They did Clue. They did Knives Out, which is Clue. They did the Clue movie, which didn't do well. Knives Out did really well, though, right?
Yeah, Knives Out did great.
Was that by the same people?
No, because Knives Out was a Rian Johnson thing.
So, here's a question. Is there something with her stuff that's making it so they can make it now?
I mean, she's old and dead.
But I mean, like, as a deadline, because what is it, 150 years and stuff goes into...
Yeah, it's not domain? That. She was born in 1890. And she died 44 years ago. Yeah. Maybe her estate sold the rights to the movies or something.
Maybe. Or maybe Warner Brothers or whoever's making them is just doing them all separately. I don't know. Anyway, point is, I didn't see Murder on the Orient Express, but I heard it was good.
It's one of those, like, wasn't super critically well received, but, like, the audience was like, oh, it was pretty good still.
Yeah. Knives Out I heard was better.
I mean...
It has Daniel Craig.
It's one of those things where, like, Murder on the Orient Express, it was such a famous old movie, like, well, let's reboot it and have literally every famous actor in it. Whereas Knives Out, it's Rian Johnson, you know? It's like, it's his baby. Yeah. It's not some studio thing. It's Rian Johnson's thing.
You can't even spell his name right.
R-N, all right? Yeah. We all know how to spell it. There's an R, there's an A, and an N. What else do you know?
R-A-I-U-E-N 7.
Okay. I had a moment in this movie.
Yeah. Just the one?
There's an actor in this movie, I don't believe he has a line, who is from my hometown. And I had the moment, you know the Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where he snaps his finger and he points at the TV? Yeah. I literally pointed at the screen. I looked to my left and my right, realized neither of you know who that is. And I had to lean over to Bailey and be like, I think I know that guy.
Okay, I was wondering what you were pointing at, and I was like, I don't
think he speaks, but they're on the plane, and someone's making a distraction. He's like, hey, what's up with this? Like, is everyone on this plane vegetarian? I don't think we have any whatever. So he looks over, squints, and he gets taken out. He's on the screen for like 10 seconds. But it was funny because he's been posting on Facebook like, oh my gosh, can't believe I'm going to have an IMDb profile. Like, so exciting. I'm so excited for the premiere. I was like, what is he talking about? I even looked it up a few times. I'm like, is this guy in Tenet? Like, he isn't a speaking role. He's not listed in the main credits. Sure enough, he's in the movie, and it blew my mind.
Joke's on you, isn't it?
I know that guy. I don't know him well, but I know him. Like, he's from where I grew up. We have mutual friends. It was really weird. It was trippy.
I am so glad I know what you were excited about, because I was like, what's happening? Is it something important? Is this, what am I missing right now?
Yeah, no. You thought some big plot thing had just happened and you missed it? Yeah. Nope, I just know that dude. His name's Clay Lacey. In case you're wondering.
I was wondering. What about the guy?
He looks like a poor man's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Nice.
And he gets choked out in a Chris Nolan movie. So there you go.
I think I thought for a second, I was like, is that Leonardo DiCaprio while he was getting choked out? Because like his face was kind of covered.
They have very similar face bones. That's what it's called. Face bones.
Yeah. I thought when you said they were in the plane, I thought you said it was going to be the guy that put the bar of gold in his jacket.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was going to be that guy, and I was going to be like, where's the bar of gold, dude?
Yeah.
Let's hit this guy up. Let's claim to be his cousins, you know? Can we talk about the real gem of this movie?
Tell me. Which one? You know?
Our boy, Robert Pattinson. He's officially won me back. I'm back on the Robert Pattinson train.
When did he lose you? High Life?
The first time I saw him in a movie, which would have been
Twilight?
Harry Potter. Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was just like, I'm not feeling this guy.
Honestly, I love the actors that aren't blockbuster types, that land 2 blockbusters, and the rest of their careers they do like art and indie and other movies, you know? Yeah. And that's very much, you know, he did Twilight and Harry Potter, and mostly what he does is indie movies.
Yeah.
And now he's in Tenet, and he's going to be in Batman. I don't know, his career's so interesting because he's so like...
He's very similar in my mind to like Daniel Radcliffe, where he's very, very, very good, but he doesn't like doing the huge movies. Mm-hmm. He just likes doing movies.
Yeah.
But he can do the big movies if he wanted to.
Right. No, he did a really good job with this one, I thought. He's one of those, I always forget he's British. Because he has a very, like, gentle British accent. To the point where, like, he speaks very clearly. He's very, like, baseline English. The same way that, like, in my mind, Colombian Spanish is, like, baseline Spanish. It's clear. It's simple. It sounds good. Yeah. I feel like he has very baseline English where you're like, oh, this is barely British. It almost sounds American, but it isn't. And that's kind of his accent in this movie. But I also read somewhere he's like, oh, I never use my own accent in this movie in movies. So he has a different... But this one, I think, is the most similar to his normal speaking voice. Because half the time he plays Americans.
Yeah, which...
In Good Time, in...
I would say is... Twilight, he's American.
Twilight and Good Time, yeah, a lot of his... High Life, I think he's American as well.
Yeah. I think it
Lighthouse
has a lot to do... I know he's like the super high-class British. Mm-hmm. If you watch Jack Whitehall's comedy special, you learn all about Robert Pattinson.
I gotta get on that.
Because they went to the same acting school.
Oh,
and
really?
Every time he's gone for a part, Robert Pattinson gets it instead.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they're both like sons of high class, you know, British aristocracy.
That's interesting. Robert Pattinson. So Christopher Nolan, when he had people read the script for the movie, they had to come to Warner Brothers, sit in a locked office, read the script, and then leave. So he couldn't send the script out to anybody because he kept it super. Stop. Robert Pattinson also had to leave set to do his audition for Batman. He was like, "Yeah, I got this thing with my." He like made up some excuse, and Chris Nolan was like, "Is that the Batman thing?" He's like, "Dang it."
So you're going to Batman? You gonna betray me like that?
Yeah, that was funny.
That is funny to have to look Chris Nolan in the face and look.
I'm not going to audition for Batman. I'm doing something else.
What Batman? No, it's another weed in space movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And the same with like John David Washington. He said he read the script and like it took him 5 hours. Like I kept having to flip back. Like he said the script blew his mind. But like, can you imagine spending 5 hours sitting in a locked office just like reading over a script and like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is a pretty good movie. I mean, I think if I understood it, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There's too much to explain. Here's the other gem of this movie. Michael Caine. If it's a Chris Nolan movie, he has to be in. I think he's been in every Chris Nolan movie since Prestige. So 15 years of Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah.
I think Bailey's favorite part of this movie is when Michael Caine said 5,000. He goes to say 1,000. He says 5,000. You're like, She laughed for like 30 seconds. She like couldn't get over it. She couldn't get to the next part of the scene because she kept going back to laughing at Townsend. I mean, I don't know what accent that is that says Townsend instead of thousand, but
Be Scottish.
it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Here's how I know that's Scottish.
How?
Only from I envision one actor saying it. It's the guy that plays. You won't know any of the roles that I'm thinking of.
Oh.
Have you ever seen Once Upon a Time? He plays the huntsman in Once Upon a Time. He plays the main guy in Siege of Jadotville. He's in other movies that you would know, but I can't remember right now. He's a very pretty man, but he's very Scottish in some movies and very American in others, and it's very disturbing to see someone switch that aggressively. Anyway, my favorite line of the movie was when he said, "Can I recommend a tailor?" And he's like, "No, I'm good. I can manage. British don't have a monopoly on snobbery, you know." And he's like, certainly not a monopoly, but a controlling interest."
Yeah. That was a good
Oh,
line.
that's awesome. I liked that a lot.
I do feel like this one had a little bit less of like the quippy Chris Nolan. And I will say there were one or two, there were maybe like 3 lines in this movie where I was like, that dialogue just isn't as sharp as most Chris Nolan movies are.
How dare you?
There were a
What?
couple. I don't know. There's half of them were from the Russian guy. There was just 1 or 2.
The Russian guy was weird.
It was an interesting choice. I don't know. I think by the end I was on board, but I think the first half of his performance I was just like, I don't know if this is giving me what I need, you know, to hit for him to be the villain of the movie.
Yeah. So who would you have cast as the villain?
Oh, I got one. I feel so bad not remembering this guy's name because he's so good. He plays Kingpin in Daredevil.
Oh, yeah, the
He's in
big
Jurassic World.
bald guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he would have been great.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
And
He would've been
I
good.
bet he can do a Russian accent.
Oh, yeah. He might be Russian. I don't know.
He probably is. I would say maybe him. Maybe him. I don't know, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. He's a good actor. And maybe it was the writing of the role. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I think you're not wrong in that. There's definitely, I think, a different acting or a different actor could have done the role maybe differently. I don't know, maybe
But like,
better.
they're always so. I feel like his movies are always cast so well. You know, it's hard. I think most of the parts were cast really great. The other thing I learned about this movie and doing research about it is there were a lot of people Chris Nolan has used for almost all of his movies that weren't available for this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think he lost his editor to Dune. So I think his editor is working on Dune now.
Speaking of Dune, how impressed were you when I called that when she was like, "Box, you die," and I was like, "Dune," and you're like, "Oh."
Because when it first popped, the first 5 seconds of the trailer, I was like, "Is this Batman?" Because it was like legendary, whatever. I was like, "This might be Batman," and then it was ended up being Dune. The Dune trailer looks amazing. Everyone should be very excited. Jason Momoa doesn't have a beard, but still looks good, which is impressive.
Yeah, I am on board. Everything they showed is almost exactly how I envisioned it while reading the book,
Yeah,
which is impressive.
that is. It's going to be amazing. But anyway, I think he lost that and his cinematographer to Dune, or maybe to a different project. So he lost like his editor, cinematographer, and then I think Hans Zimmer. Or maybe he might have lost Hans Zimmer to 1917. So it was like he lost like a lot of his main people he uses for 1917 and Dune. I thought that was interesting, just because of scheduling conflicts.
Yeah. You know?
Also,
You know?
Robert Pattinson's picture is wrong in IMDb.
Is it not Robert Pattinson?
No, it's a blonde dude. Just for Tenet.
Maybe it's him. Maybe Robert Pattinson is
get
blonde
outta here.
dude.
Fun fact: did you know that John David Washington
Is blonde?
was a stop it? He was a collegiate football player, and he even tried out for the NFL. He almost made it to the NFL, and now he's an actor.
That's nuts. That is a fun fact.
I like the costuming for him.
Yeah.
The suits, and then like even like the polo shirts with the suits. I'm like, I don't know, polos. I feel like we're played out for a while. Our man can wear a polo.
I wear polos.
I know. You look good in your polos. I'm not saying you don't look good in your polos.
Personally attacked.
I'm just saying they haven't been in the forefront of fashion, and I think he nailed them.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at Robert Pattinson's photo for Tenet.
It's switched back. Okay?
I'm seeing Robert Pattinson.
I promise you. Look, it's fixed on mine as well. I'm telling you, for 12 seconds, it was the wrong dude.
Oh, okay. But right now.
It's correct.
So, Kat, I spent the whole movie being like, where have I seen this girl before? Where have I seen her? Is Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is where I thought.
You played that gold lady?
Yeah. And it bugged me the whole movie. I was like, what other... She's in a lot of movies that I've seen that I'm like, oh yeah, she's in that. But specifically, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume Dose.
She was super good. I heard Chris Nolan offered her the movie, and then she's like, well, I want to audition. He's like, no, you don't have to. He's like, no, I want to audition. Like, so I'm what you're looking for, and this is right for the part. And she did like a great job. I really liked her in the movie. I thought she was great.
I think she did a good job. Really, they all just did such a good job. They all get a
Everyone
gold star.
tried so hard.
They all get a gold star.
Good job. It's just so confusing. I found out this movie didn't use any green screen at all. Does that blow your mind a little bit?
I mean, when I'm going back and thinking of it, I don't know why they would have to. I think they could have to save money on certain sets, but
well, we all know Christopher Nolan loves practical effects, so I guess this movie had like 270 VFX shots, which is not a lot considering I think Dark Knight had like 350 and whatever. It's like one of his lowest he's done.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real plane that crashed through into the Freeport.
Yeah.
That was an enormous plane. They actually crashed it into the building.
Here's the thing, though.
Crazy.
Was it one of those 737s that are crashing all the time? They're like, look, we can get this for pennies on the dollar.
It was, I forget, I don't know plane models, but it was a big old plane.
Yeah. And
they actually crashed into a building, which I just think was nuts. And I was talking about this with Bailey, but the thing about his movies is everything looks so grounded and real in them. Mm-hmm. Because he makes it a point like, no, we're just going to do this. And then we don't have to worry about making it look real because it actually happened.
Yeah.
But this movie, I do think it suffers a little bit because they have to show things happening in real time and in reverse time at the same time. So to do that in the movie, they had to anytime there was a reverse, anything inverted in the shot, they had to shoot it twice. So everyone performs it forwards and backwards, and then they have to mesh those together.
Yeah.
And so they didn't perform everyone running and then reverse it. They had everyone run backwards. So it took like a crazy amount. And so it does look a little uncanny.
Yeah.
When things are back, like when it's an explosion or bullet hole, you're like, oh, right, that looks like it was reversed. When people are moving, you're like, why is everything so... It doesn't look quite right. Like, I think the best example of it is... There's the part, so they're trying to steal a painting in the Freeport. Super secure area, really high-class art and all kinds of stuff, so it's very secure. So they get in there, and then while they're in there doing their little heist, a soldier comes in through the rotating time doors that were never fully, explained.
Yeah.
And then he's inverted, so he's fighting backwards while moving forwards, while John David Washington is fighting forwards. But I feel like your brain could never catch up to, there was no, simple gravity, push-pull, cause and effect. Yeah. It was always I don't understand who's pulling on what and who's pushing it. Whereas if you think a good action movie like John Wick, you're like, I see this strike, this punch, this bullet, and,
Yeah.
Or the same with, Mad Max, Fury Road, where it's I see everything in frame and it all makes sense in my brain. Nothing made sense in your brain when you're watching an inverted person fighting a not inverted person.
Yeah.
And so it was but they spent so much time in the movie on that action that your brain the whole time is just trying to piece it together okay, who's acting on what? What force is acting upon whom?
Oh yeah.
Did you feel that? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was it just none of the action felt like good action because it was just what is happening? But then they focus so much on the action that it wasn't just a movie about inverting time. There was so much action on screen, but it was such a feat to do because you had to do it forwards and backwards and put it together.
Yeah, which I think I liked the fights and how they were done because I liked watching it switch who was in control, and you could see like somebody gets hit and then they twist and like will grab the other guy, and I would have a moment where like, oh, this guy's about to be like flip over the back of him and slam him into the wall or something, like he did, like he's done the end. He's at the end of a move to smash this guy into the wall.
Yeah,
and so I thought it was cool personally, but I do think like watching it, I'm like, I don't know why I'm able to switch between like looking and focusing on the two guys as they're fighting, and whoever's
has the upper hand.
I could just be like, all right, he's going the right way and the other guy's backwards. So it was weird that I was able to get it, but I could tell as I was watching, like, no, this is going to be something like 4 people in the world are like, I can follow this. Everybody else is like, I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, this was a choice to do this. Probably the wrong choice, but I thought it was cool. And it was really cool with that save scene because later he realizes that guy with the mask was him that he was fighting. So it's cool seeing him like, and you see a moment where he's like, oh yeah, I remember how this went. And he like goes up and like grabs his arm as he's about to get punched in the face. And then it's the other guys who are backwards and he's going forwards.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you see the same fight forwards that you watch backwards.
I did like it more like to the very end sequence, like the ending set piece where you have, what do they call it? Scissor operation or something?
Temporal pincer.
Pincer, yeah. And so it's like we have one team inverted going backwards, we have one team in real time going forwards, and so we're gaining intel from both sides. Yeah. I did think by the end of the movie I was like, oh, I think I understand more like what's going on. Probably my favorite shot from that scene was there's one where like the building explodes on one side and like, oh no, we need a diversion on the other side. So then the top of the building explodes and then that inverts and then the bottom of the building explodes on the other side. And but you see it as one shot. You're like, oh, well, that was really cool how they did that.
Yeah. And how like the two teams kind of work together. They have to, because it's the red team has to cover the blue team's escape, but by the blue team's perspective, they've already been covered. You know? And like this whole, I thought it was cool.
It's a bit of a mind wrinkle, but it's good. So all of that more or less makes sense.
Yeah.
Here's what doesn't make sense. Here's what I think was missing from just explaining this movie and it all the pieces coming together. What I didn't understand is, okay, you invert somebody.
Right.
Where do they go? You walk through the door, but then at what point do you go back in time to yourself in real time, or are you just inverted forever? Because it seemed like there were some scenes where like, oh, he was inverted, he went and did the thing, oh, it didn't work. Like they told him it wouldn't. Okay, now he's back to normal.
Well,
where do you go?
Into a machine.
What's that?
I actually liked that because it always seemed they always had to get to a machine to be turned back.
Okay, see, that I didn't catch. Because there's the scene where the Russian guy is interrogating him, but there's an inverted Russian guy, and then there's the regular Russian guy on the other side. And so you're trying to piece it back together, but like, well, which one's the real one?
They're both the real one.
Okay. So how are there two of him?
One's going forward, and the other one's... They're both going forward by their perspective.
So there's two of the same guy. They made a copy of him and inverted him, or is it the guy from the future who's been inverted and gone back in the past? This is where...
the guy from the future going back.
So that's where I got a little confused, where it's like, okay, there's two of you now, but when do you go back?
So in that scene when he's like... So he gets the information from him, right?
Uh-huh.
Are you talking about when he's like... When he shoots Cat?
Yeah.
So that guy runs into the machine and then runs out of it and then does all of that got the information out of the guy trying to confirm the information. So he's like, okay. So that's when he's like, who told you that? How did you know that? Because the protagonist told him, oh, it's in the BMW. And he's like, how did you know that it's in the BMW? And he's like, because you told me. So that's what it is. So it's two guys, but one guy is current and this guy's the future him. They're looking at each other, but it's current and future. person.
Yeah.
There's only ever one.
But from different moments.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like when they explain time travel in Avengers. If
Right.
you go to the past, that past becomes your future. So you can't change your future by changing the past because that past is now your future.
Those are two separate timelines.
Yeah.
Whereas the Back to the Future way is everything you do affects your future self in the past.
Yeah. Back to the Future ways, there's one timeline and you can affect it. The
Endgame /
accurate
Tenet
way.
would be these are separate strands of time operating independent of each other.
Yeah. Which the big thing that they wrestle with is the grandfather paradox, which is if you go back and kill your grandfather, you would never have been born to go back and kill your grandfather.
Right.
So he asks, why is the future attacking us? Because if they kill us, aren't we just going to... They'll never have been born to attack us. And they were like, we don't know. Obviously, they think they can. So it doesn't matter whether or not they can. The people in charge think that they can do this.
Yeah.
So they'll do this.
Yeah. And then I guess the other thing I didn't fully comprehend, and this so much of the plot depends on this. So the Russian guy is fighting cancer.
Yeah.
And when he dies is when the nuclear holocaust is going to happen, right?
Yes, but kind of. So no, so their thing is it's not a nuclear war, it's a temporal war.
Right.
So they detonate the nukes, which buries the algorithm of how to do this. Because right now it seems like unless the
So they're
thing's
trying
already
to
been
nuke
built,
away the knowledge of how
No.
to do temporal. Okay.
so
Hit me.
they're
The
not
cure
doing
for
that.
cancer.
So the bombs are to bury that. So he sends out the email blast over the internet so the people in the future can find it. That says this is where the algorithm is. Then they can go and find it and use it to turn everything backwards,
Okay.
which will then destroy the past by shoving the future back through the past.
I'm going to have to watch this movie again.
So the bombs are just to seal it because once it's buried under all the rubble of that in a safe compartment, they'll be able to get to it in however long. They never
Is
say
that
how
the
long.
compartment the Russian guy found?
He found the dead drop kind of thing. So they were trying to drop it down that tube, like the nuclear silo tube.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to put it down, which would have just been buried.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were trying to put that dead drop that he used to communicate with the future.
Oh, right. I forgot because he communicates with the future with like a time capsule thing.
Yeah, so he buries it, then they dig it up and put whatever to information or money or whatever to give him, like gold. It looks like they give him gold bars. And then they invert it and bury it. So he just digs it right back up. And it's like instant, like they said.
Right. So why does him dying affect it?
Because
then he can't continue to communicate with them?
no,
No.
him dying affects it because he's a petty douche. That if he's gonna die, he's gonna take the rest of the world with him. That's the whole. Because them getting the algorithm will destroy the world.
Okay.
So they don't know he has it, and he's not gonna tell them where it is and make it available to them until he's dead, so that he can live out his life.
So you can take the rest of the world with him.
Yeah.
So I do like that they kind of talk like, well, why him? And they're like, he's in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Like he was just there at the spot where it could have all happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it easily could have been someone else, but it wasn't. It was him. I do think that was interesting.
Yeah. He just got the time capsule that they sent backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it seems like right now, unless that machine already existed from when that scientist was alive, they can't make any more or use anything, any other way of doing it other than these machines.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they can make more or if they can't make any more.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. I did like the big machine when they were like deploying the troops and they had to invert like lots of people and they had the big one with like the little compartments that spins. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think the inverting machines were really interesting. People just kind of popped out and you're like, oh gosh, who's doing what now?
Yeah. When you say there's no green screen, I was like, what a cool way to do it practical, but make it look like it's such a simple thing to build, but it makes it look like this is doing stuff you can't understand.
Yeah.
And then you had that guy say, anytime you're going in it, this is the reason there's these glass partitions at every single one of these machines. Mm-hmm. You look over, and unless you see yourself coming out of the machine, you do not get in the machine. Because if you're not coming out of it, you're never going to come out of it.
You'll just be inverted forever. I gotta watch this movie again.
So, it's a good one.
It is pretty good. For the sake of like it not being as comprehensible as the other ones,
yeah,
I do think his other movies are better. I don't think it's as I'm just thinking of like Chris Nolan movies, which are all very good.
Yeah,
this one ranks lower for me for that.
See, for me, I feel about this the way I heard other people talk about like Interstellar.
Right.
I think it's awesome.
I do,
but I recognize it's contingent on your ability to follow the thread of what's happening.
It makes me feel so inadequate. I followed Interstellar.
Yeah.
I followed Inception. I followed The Prestige.
Yeah.
I followed Memento. Well, as much as you can, right?
Right.
Because they're made to be things you can discover as you go and like blow your mind, and then you rewatch. You're like, oh. Whereas this one, I feel like it didn't have that same aha trigger moment where it's like, oh, my mind is blown at the end. It does kind of do that, right? Because at the end of the movie, you kind of realize, like, John David Washington, he was working for himself the whole time. They kind of reveal that, and like, nothing worked out the way it was supposed to, except that it did, and we're going to keep this loop so it does continue to work out. You're going to be the person, you made Tenet.
Yeah.
And you continue on your path so that you continue to have created Tenet. I like that. That's still something I don't fully comprehend, but I do think it's an interesting way to end the movie, because I feel like the whole time, that last big action set piece where it's like, Kate has to keep the Russian guy busy so that he doesn't kill himself so they can finish the mission, and then she still does kill him, but does buy them enough time, and everything fell. And it's kind of like the end of Inception, I feel like, where everything has to work out just right, and there's curveballs thrown, and like, is it going to be okay? And they have to improvise something to make it happen. And then it does work out. I don't know. It is a fun puzzle. I liked the pincer temporal scene going through it all, and you're like, you're always calculating, what did the inverted people do? How does that affect what I'm doing? Who needs to do what? And even at the end, when like this Irish or Scottish guy breaks apart the bombs, like, okay, you take one piece, I'll take one piece, you take one piece. We don't know where anyone's going. We're keeping it all separate, whatever. It's one of those things where just you have to be able to, I don't know, you have to make such big brain moves of like, okay. It's like thinking 12 steps ahead in a chess game, where it's like, everyone's going to do these things, so this is what needs to happen, and now let's change the plan and do it this way.
Yeah.
I think it'll make for a good rewatch, and I think people who rewatch it will appreciate it more. It's still the opening weekend, so I feel like it could. Its scores aren't very high, but it's the opening weekend, and it's the most bizarre opening weekend a movie's ever had because it's the only movie opening this weekend, and there's only so many theaters open. Like, the guy I told you was in this, he's like, yeah, I drove 2.5 hours to see myself in this movie, and my parents drove 3 hours to see the movie. It's just not everyone has access to a theater that's open right now.
I think, I think the biggest thing that is lowered its score is that I think it'd be very easy to not get the movie and just think like, well, this is just a poorly written movie. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think the only reason I feel like I can understand what's going on is that, one, I've seen other stuff where they will do things like this where people are moving backwards while people are moving forwards, and they have to meet in the middle to do things. Yeah. So it's not my first rodeo with that concept, and it's also something that I enjoy, like, thinking about time and all that stuff. Like, it's something that interests me, and that's why it made more sense. But I think watching it a second time, you will get like oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because I think it's easy to overcomplicate it in your head, whereas if you boil it down to everyone's always moving forward, and there's only ever one person. Mm-hmm. There's not two of anybody. There's always one of everybody. It's just who is current, past, and future, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, even moving forward, you have to... So you could have, like, three of somebody all moving forward, but they're all waiting for the current guy to get in the machine to start going backwards, and then they're the current guy. But that guy's still the current guy.
Yeah. I had something else to say, and my brain's just too wrinkled to say it.
Yeah, hypothermia from explosions, you know?
Oh, that was interesting. Yeah, I do like the movie. I do want to see it again. Here's... I don't know if I got all my notes out because I didn't really take any. I just absorbed it, but... Skirt, skirt. This is very well the first Christopher Nolan movie with a skirt in it. You know, the hip-hop...
Yeah.
The SoundCloud rapper Skirt, skirt?
Yeah.
This movie ends with a Travis Scott song, and that was the biggest curve. The biggest twist of all was that Travis Scott wrote and performed the end credits song.
Okay. What about the fact that Travis Scott has a meal at McDonald's?
Okay, we're not talking about that. Here's what we're talking about. Christopher Nolan. It's Christopher Nolan's, according to IMDb, first hip-hop song in a Chris Nolan movie. I think it was a pretty good song, but when he said skirt, skirt in the credits, I was like, what year is it? What dimension are we in?
We've all been inverted.
We've all been inverted.
Our entropy has been inverted for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the movie would have been received better, will have been received better if you invert your entropy, right? If that scientist had used more understandable ways to explain. But I think, like, that's where specifically with her, I think a lot of the terminology she used was unnecessarily over the top. Uh-huh. Where she's like, let me explain the science of it. And I was like, there's no science here, dude. There's no science because this isn't real. You got to explain it like a movie. But I think he got, like, sometimes it feels like he got a little too caught up in the consultant.
Here's what I've always... Okay. I took a lot... Like, when I was making short movies in high school, I took a page out of Nolan's book, and I was like, I love The Prestige. I love, like, Pulp Fiction and these other movies that kind of, like, are shot out of sequence, and I made a movie like that, and, like, no one got it. But for me, it's so easy to get in the weeds of it and be like, all right, I put all the puzzle pieces in, and everyone will get it. It's like, no, it's going to take everyone else three watches to get it. You're too deep to know how much... You know, it's like if you've done a job for 5 years that's really complicated... can you train your replacement in a week? And you're like, yeah. You just need to know this, this, and this. The instructions you gave don't make sense for 6 months to that person. You know, yeah. I think it's the case of that. Whereas in his other movies, he's pulled it off. I think this one just didn't, like you said, it didn't get the movie explanation it needed to keep everyone on level with it the whole time. But I want to watch it again, and I want to know.
Yeah. I
need answers, and I want to be able to appreciate that level of detail.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes from, like you said, to getting too deep in it and then having the protagonist be a guy who, by the nature of what he's doing and what his job is and who he is...
Never knows all the pieces.
Well, he has to act like he knows what's going on. He can never say, wait, what did you just say? Right. He has to be like, okay, I understand.
And there's no one to have all the answers to give it all to him because he's the one who discovers it all. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, now I know what I need to do.
Yeah. So she's explaining it to him when he's the one that gave her the wall, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think, you know, because like Interstellar, you got Everyman, what's his face? He's just out here farming, and he's an astrophysicist.
Matthew McConaughey.
But he can be like, I'm sorry, what now? What'd you say about this now? I'm just a corn farmer, you know?
Yeah.
I'm an astrophysics
pilot, engineer,
corn farmer.
farmer.
I ain't know nothing about no such thing, except I know everything, but explain it to me again. There wasn't that character in this one.
Yeah. It is a good movie, and I do think people should see it.
Yeah.
Just be prepared to feel dumb.
I have a final note. Shout out to old school movie Silence Pistols. I feel like those have taken a back seat recently.
Yeah.
I liked it. I know it's not realistic, but do I like the little pew pew.
Yeah, it is.
Little pew pew pistols that, it's like little pew.
Oh,
when you shoot somebody. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm going to shoot this guy 2 inches from that guy. And he's going to be like, would you trip or something? And then I'm going to go and break that guy's neck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good old time. How'd you feel about the shaky cam, though? We mentioned that in the last podcast.
I didn't get upset by a shaky cam in this one. Did you?
I didn't. I thought it was a good balance of the steady cam and the shaky cam when it was necessary. But I was interested. I wanted to know, since we just watched such a smooth film.
Yeah. The other thing I read about this too, normally Chris Nolan, he gets all his cast and crew together and he screens a few movies. He's like, hey, this is the inspiration for what we're doing here. Yeah. And this is one where he's like, I love James Bond movies. I love the whole aesthetic of the spy, whatever. And he's like, I don't want this to be that derivative of it. I just want it to be what is the element and the feeling of a spy movie. That's what I want. So, like, he didn't do the let's screen a bunch of movies that directly influence this. He was like, no, like, this is what we're going for, and that's all you need to know. Whatever that means for you, whatever, like, a spy movie means to you, that's what we're trying to go for. Yeah. Which is interesting.
What did you feel about the vibe there, though?
The vibe?
But leave everything, all the time travel stuff, specifically him as a CIA agent spy.
I liked that vibe of it, and I liked his character. I liked that, like you said, he didn't have all the answers, but he has to pretend like he knows what he's doing and just bluff his way through it all. I did like that part of it. I like that part of it.
Yeah. It's a little different than the James Bond vibe. Mm-hmm. But more, it felt more realistic.
He doesn't seduce anyone, but he does pretend to have the impetus to seduce someone, right?
Yeah.
He never seduces the girl, but he makes people think he is to get close to them, so they're like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, but hold up. What about this time heist thing I'm trying to figure out, you know?
That's a Netflix movie if I've ever heard it.
Time heist.
But then, then you got to deal with Avengers, which use that term, and they might come after you.
Right, they might, and when they come close to me, that's when I'll seduce them, all right? Use the time heist bluff to seduce Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
I do like this one. I don't know that it's his strongest movie, but there's also a 30% chance I'm going to watch this again and then be like, no, it is his greatest movie.
Yeah. Would you is this one you would recommend to everyone, or would you be more selective?
Part of me wants to say everyone should see it. I'm really torn. I'm torn about this movie. I am.
Yeah. I ask because that seems to be the only consistent rating system we have. Is if you
would you recommend it to everyone or certain people? I also want people to see it because it's different. We've done a lot of time heist movies and time loop movies, even Doctor Strange, Marvel, Avengers Endgame. There's been a lot of that stuff recently.
Yeah.
But this is such a different way to do it and think about it, and it's not part of a franchise, and it's shot in a different way and done with practical effects, and I like when movies are done like that, and so I do think it's worth seeing for the sake of that. Mm-hmm. John David, at a minimum, see it for Robert Pattinson's performance and John David Washington's beard.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Honestly, that's kind of where I'm at. I think you should see it.
Robert Pattinson's so good in this movie.
He's a great actor. He's really good. And he picks pretty cool roles. Yeah. I think he just gets a bad rap because he did Twilight so early, but he also was so obviously over it the whole time. He's like, this is such a weird movie. Wouldn't it be fun if we embraced how weird it was? And I'm like, no. It's the greatest love story ever told, and you're a teenage heartthrob now. He's like, not really. I'm a creepy 200-year-old vampire who's hanging out with a high schooler. I don't understand the appeal. It's a weird movie.
Yeah, wasn't there an interview where he's like, I watch her sleep. That's not hot.
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely pointed that out. He's like, isn't it weird how we, do suck on blood or do this and shouldn't we? No, this isn't a monster movie. It's a romance. He's like, but it's a monster movie. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for old Robert, and I'm excited for the Batman. And cheers to him. Watch Good Time. Watch The Lighthouse. Oh, yeah. Watch Tenet.
Yeah,
he's
a big boy.
He's pretty good.
You can see him that he's already even in this one he's a little bit bigger.
A little bit
for Batman. And he's gotten pretty big, I think, right, for Batman.
Yeah, well, I know he had trouble getting big, but I think they overcame some of that. I don't think he's not going to be Chris Hemsworth big by any means.
No one is.
He might not even be Christian Bale big for this, honestly. No. But
have you ever heard the things where they talk about Chris Hemsworth? When you hear Chris Evans talk about Chris Hemsworth? Where he says, because he works really hard and he's very vocal about hating being Captain America because he has to be so jacked all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, I work so hard to be this big. I have to do specialized diets. I have 15 different people on staff that help me maintain big. That's just how big Chris Hemsworth is.
That's the thing. I've heard Chris Hemsworth talking like, I do 3 workouts a day. They're also 20-minute workouts. So he does these crazy intense workouts, and that's all he does. Whereas someone like Robert, because your body, different bodies retain muscle differently. I have the kind of body where I put on muscle very fast, I lose it very fast. I'm a twiggy dude, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's kind of what Robert Pattinson's like, because it's just he's so naturally thin and slim that his body doesn't just. Other people have the types where it's you get bulky, you keep that bulk for a long time, you know.
And it doesn't take much to maintain it. I imagine between you and me, like you said, you would probably have to work really hard.
I'd have to really maintain it. It only takes me a week or two to lose muscle that I've built.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, it's this is here to stay. Yeah, this isn't going anywhere.
Not going.
I have to try to starve myself to lose my muscle or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of you, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. But anyway, I love it. I always think it's funny that they all hate him.
Yeah.
That he's just naturally a huge, muscly dude.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think people should see this movie.
Yeah.
I think they should, and at least for the sake of Chris Nolan and Hollywood and still getting well-funded movies that are interesting still. It's same thing as Blade Runner 2049. It's please. Fortunately, we still got Dune, but that movie was a flop, and it's they don't give out $200 million budgets to highbrow sci-fi movies, except they did for this, they did for Blade Runner, and they did for Dune, and so we should support them because I think it's a better blockbuster to support. I want them. I want more of them, and I want other people to help me get to have more of them for me.
Yeah,
just for me.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend it to everybody, and I would really just shove it down the throat of a few people. You know what I mean? I would force some people to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, even I think you said Tiffany liked it, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have expected it, and I think Bailey liked it more than I would have thought she would have. I thought she's she's going to see it for me because I've been wanting to see this movie and I've been excited about it. But she still liked it.
I think it has that same appeal that what was the other one you mentioned? Interstellar or even The Prestige, where you like the movie even if you don't fully understand everything that happened.
Right. There's a lot to like about it. The effects, the actors are usually very good performances. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad that we agree and we've come together on this one.
We share some tenets.
Yes. Tenets. Lace your fingers together with me. Be careful, it'll open some wrong doors.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah.
It's so annoying
Is there just a gay nightclub that has the code word Tenet with that? Is that what it was? Maybe that's what it was. He's look, you might end up with a bunch of sweaty dudes.
Here's my point with the Tenet.
Weren't bargaining for.
In real life, it's fully acceptable that they're be careful with this. He is careful with it, never runs into any problems.
Right.
In a movie,
you gotta
be careful with this. Not even where he's
you have to pay it off. You can't tease that and then not pay it off.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe he's all you gotta do is have I trust this person. Maybe wait, I'm not gonna use the sign. And then I was right not to use it with this person. But you didn't even get that.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have it go wrong. You just have to have it where it could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
And it did.
And it's amazing. I mean, 2.5 hours, they didn't fit that part in. I also read somewhere that this isn't official, but the editor was I'm pretty sure this is the most IMAX footage ever shot for a movie. But it was some ludicrous amount where most movies a lot of it shot on IMAX. This one, they like specialized lenses so they could shoot IMAX in low light, which is normally not possible. And they're like, yeah, no, we shot a ton of stuff on IMAX for this, and it's a really long movie. But I thought that was interesting too.
It's good. It didn't feel as long as it was.
It really didn't.
It was so good. Because so much of it was going backwards. It overlaps.
Just invert me. I'm ready.
They inverted the whole theater. We went backwards and then forwards.
I'd say that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I got.
You can share us if you want to. Share this one. I mean,
share it.
For Christopher Henry Nolan.
Yeah.
And his half-brother,
Jonathan. Who's dead to us.
Franklin Nolan.
Unless he wrote the script and Christopher stole it. But then he usually puts his name on it.
So who knows? We gotta look. What's he doing these days? Let's figure it out. Yeah. I bet he owns probably owns like a candle shop or something. Like he makes artisanal candles in Ventura. That's what I'm guessing.
If you know which one of the Nolan brothers is British and which one is American and why one is different,
please tweet me at Opinion Havers. Oh, and until next time, watch movies
and have opinions. Like, why would you have a British son and then a not British son? It's almost like telling someone not to use a symbol.
Were they separated at birth and then reunited at the age of 16?
I don't think so.
Was it a parent? It's a parent trap situation.
Maybe.
I want an autobiographical movie about the Nolan brothers.
And then we'll make a movie about it, directed by the Coen brothers.
Oh, there it is. That's the pitch.
Yeah.